You're watching a new world divide form in real time, but not on any map. It's happening inside the machines that guide your searches, your news, your choices. And at the center of it stands the digital iron wall, China's AI barrier, built to filter truth, shape influence, and control what intelligence can enter or escape. Most people will never see how this wall works, but you're about to. Because once intelligence is controlled, everything else follows. For years, the world assumed technology would pull us closer together. One internet, one digital economy, one shared future. China saw something different. If data is the new oil, then letting foreign systems refine it is the ultimate vulnerability. So China built a parallel universe of intelligence. Its own models, platforms, and infrastructures, all reinforced behind the digital iron wall. To the West, it looks like isolation. To China, it's survival. To everyone else, it's a warning about who will shape tomorrow's truth. You may feel this shift without noticing it. News that feels filtered, platforms that feel divided, algorithms that act like border guards. This isn't coincidence, it's architecture. And the deeper you look, the more one realization becomes unavoidable. China isn't closing itself off. It's preparing a future where its intelligence competes with, and possibly overpowers, the world's. And the first crack in the global digital order begins right here. To understand the digital iron wall, you have to see the foundation beneath it. China didn't begin with firewalls or filters. It began with a question every rising empire eventually asks. How do we stay powerful if the tools of the future are built somewhere else? In the early 2000s, China realized something terrifying. If Western companies controlled operating systems, search engines, chips, and cloud computing, then they controlled the digital heartbeat of a nation with 1.4 billion people. No empire in history would accept that kind of dependency, and China didn't either. So the country started building replacements. Its own search engine, its own social platforms, its own e-commerce giants, its own payment rails, its own digital identity systems. And behind every platform sat an unspoken goal: self-sufficiency through intelligence. This is where awe enters the story. While the rest of the world saw China as a fast follower, inside the system, something else was happening. A synchronized technological rise built with a level of national coordination few countries could match. But here's the recognition moment most viewers miss. These platforms weren't built just to compete. They were built to align. Search fed data to commerce. Commerce fed data to finance. Finance fed data to AI. And AI fed the country's long-term strategy. Piece by piece, China was constructing a digital architecture not just for today, but for a future where intelligence defines global strength. But the moment China tried to protect its future, the world saw something far more unsettling. As China's digital system grew stronger, the fear on the global stage grew louder. Because when one nation builds its own AI universe, trained on its own data, shaped by its own rules, it creates a form of power the world has never faced before. This is the part where you feel the tension. What happens when intelligence itself becomes divided? Two algorithms, two truths, two interpretations of the world. Inside the digital iron wall, China wasn't just controlling what came in, it was controlling what could be learned. And for Western governments, that was the real shock. If China's AI models were trained on billions of users, billions of transactions, billions of real-time interactions, and all of it remained inside a sealed system, then China was creating something priceless. a sovereign engine of intelligence that could not be copied, accessed, or influenced from the outside. Every country wishes it had this advantage. Data is the new strategic resource, but only China built a system that captures, processes, and weaponizes it at national scale. But fear returns fast, because a sealed AI ecosystem doesn't just protect a nation, it separates it. And the deeper the divide grows, the harder it becomes to tell which intelligence will shape the future and which one will shape you. And then came the turning point. The moment the wall stopped being defensive and became something far more powerful. Here is the moment almost everyone misunderstands about the digital iron wall. Most think it was built to defend China from outside influence. But the real turning point came when China realized something far more strategic. If the world's AI systems were being shaped by Western data, Western companies, and Western values, then China needed an entirely different playbook. This wasn't just security. It was divergence, the creation of a parallel intelligence. In 2017, when deep learning breakthroughs accelerated, China made a decision that shocked global analysts. AI would no longer be treated as a technology. It would be treated as infrastructure, as essential as electricity or transportation. And infrastructure must be owned, not rented. This is where your own fear enters the story. You feel the world becoming harder to read, news that contradicts itself, platforms that shape what you believe, algorithms that seem to know you better than you know yourself. China wasn't immune to that fear either. Their answer was simply more coordinated. If intelligence decides the future, then the nation that controls intelligence controls the future. The turning point became visible when China began exporting its digital tools, surveillance platforms, AI-powered city systems, national ID technologies, to dozens of countries. Suddenly, the digital iron wall wasn't just inward-facing, it was projecting outward. And this shift changed everything. China went from defending its digital borders to shaping others. Here's the awakening moment. The wall wasn't just protecting China's AI from foreign influence. It was protecting foreign nations from influencing China, while allowing China to influence them. A defensive structure became an offensive asset. A barrier became a blueprint. A divide became a lever of power. And the world realized it too late. Because once a wall grows beyond its borders, it stops being a wall. So what does the digital iron wall actually teach us about power, control, and the future of intelligence? First, dependence is vulnerability. Whether it's a nation relying on foreign technology or a person relying on platforms they don't own, the side that controls the system controls the outcome. China simply applied this truth at scale. Second, data compounds like wealth. Just as money grows through compounding, intelligence grows through repeated training. Whoever gathers more data gains more insight, and whoever gains more insight shapes more behavior. This isn't conspiracy, it's mathematics. Third, walls don't just block, they define. Every boundary sets the rules for what's allowed to grow inside it. China built a sealed intelligence ecosystem, and because it was sealed, it evolved differently than the rest of the world's AI. Influence follows design. And finally, here's the relief. Understanding how this system works removes the fear of the unknown. When you see the architecture clearly, the world feels less chaotic. Patterns replace panic. Clarity replaces confusion. But clarity alone isn't enough, because this wall is already shaping the world you live in. Today, the digital iron wall shapes far more than China's internal system. It shapes the entire global AI race. Every country now faces the same question China confronted years earlier. Who should control the intelligence that controls everything else? Look around and you'll see the divide forming. Separate app ecosystems, separate data standards, separate AI models interpreting the world through different lenses. This isn't just geopolitics. It's the architecture of your daily life. What you see, what you're recommended, what you're allowed to express, all influenced by invisible systems competing for dominance behind the screen. Here's the empowering truth. The future won't be shaped by who has the most data, but by who understands the systems shaping that data. Awareness becomes a form of protection and a form of power. And if you've watched this far, you already sense how deep this divide truly goes. If you stayed until this moment, it means you already see the pattern most people miss. A world quietly splitting into competing intelligences, each shaping how we think, choose, and live. This channel exists to reveal those hidden systems of wealth and power before they reshape your future without your awareness. Every episode is another piece of the architecture. Subscribe, because once you understand how these systems work, you stop being shaped by them and start seeing the rules guiding the world. The next episode uncovers the strategy behind another empire rewriting its own future. And that story begins the moment you click subscribe.